What are you going to do with that money that was already appropriated?
Well, again, we're waiting for OMB guidance, and obviously they'll reach out and work with Congress on these funds.
OMB is not working with Congress. The president is not working with Congress. You are not working with the Congress. We need to understand, if we are going to appropriate dollars, what it is that has happened. What is it that you propose to do with the billions of dollars that you have expropriated?
Yeah, again, that's a function, as you know, that's OMB has those decisions to make, and they'll have to work with you on it.
I guess you don't have much control over your agency, Mr.
Well, including, as I've already...
You have... my time is short, Mr. Secretary.
Well, so is mine, and that's why I want to tell you that we're also going to bring in people from USAID.
My time is short. I reclaim my time.
Congress just exploded after Ilhan Omar defended her ceasefire position, and Chip Roy fired back with accusations that stunned the entire room. What started as an emotional speech about Palestinian civilians turned into one of the most brutal clashes we've seen in Congress this year. And once Roy began describing the October 7th attacks in graphic detail, the hearing completely spiraled. This was not a calm policy debate. This was two completely different views of morality crashing headfirst into each other live on camera. One side argued the focus should be on innocent Palestinians dying in Gaza. The other side argued there can be no discussion of ceasefire until Hamas is fully condemned. And the more both sides spoke, the more obvious it became that Congress is deeply divided on this war.
I might quickly say that a while ago we had a briefing by USAID senior officials, Jim Kunder, Chris Milligan, and just a quote, what has been done was an 84% cut to USAID. It scatters the remnants of USAID across a dozen state bureaus and almost guarantees that our competitors will dominate in local competition. The fact is, people have been fired and agencies and programs have been terminated. Secretary Rubio, human lives have been lost. Extensive damage is done to the U.S. international standing under your watch. This would not have happened if the administration had followed the law and congressional intent. Congress appropriated foreign aid funding with a clear set of directives, yet with no notice to Congress. The administration has broken the law, completely dismantled U.S. Foreign aid, hijacked funding for the State Department and USAID at the behest of Elon Musk and Doge. I might just say, you don't have the authority, Elon Musk doesn't have the authority, the president doesn't have the authority, and OMB doesn't have the authority. The authority to appropriate funding comes from this body, the United States Congress, and it is so stated in the Constitution. You're now sitting on billions of dollars. This subcommittee, which appropriated that funding in the first place, has no idea of how you plan to use them. Secretary, how do you plan to spend your agency's remaining fiscal year 2025 money, if not as directed by the Congress?
Well, I think the president, through OMB, is going to work with you and the Congress on how best to, reset the funding levels for the new year and how to move those funds. And we await OMB guidance in that regard.
Well, I would just say for months we have been asking for a list of which programs were cut and why. And all we have received is this unintelligible spreadsheet, a sheet that does not seem to reflect reality. We need clear answers on how you need to plan to spend this year's funding, and asking for a commitment that you let us know, because you have terminated programs, you have fired staff. What are you going to do with that money that was already appropriated?
Well, again, we're waiting for OMB guidance, and obviously they'll reach out and work with Congress on these funds.
OMB is not working with Congress. The president is not working with Congress. You are not working with the Congress. We need to understand, if we are going to appropriate dollars, what it is that has happened. What is it that you propose to do with the billions of dollars that you have expropriated?
Yeah, again, that's a function, as you know, that's OMB has those decisions to make, and they'll have to work with you on it.
I guess you don't have much control over your agency, Mr.
Well,
Secretary.
ultimately, we have a lot of control.
Reporting, you have terminated more than 90% of USAID programs, 60% of programs at state. All are the firing of all our development experts in the next few weeks, and are preparing to fire hundreds more at the State Department. We need an accountability. And if we can't, I don't know, if we can't get it from the Secretary, then from whom are we going to get this accountability? It is your department.
Well, with all due respect, some of your numbers are incorrect. We have not cut 60% of the funding funding at the State Department. If you're referring to the budget request, that's different. There has not been mass layoffs at the State Department. I think there's been less than 200 people that have been riffed from the State Department. From the State
talking
Department.
about, well, USAID. And
Oh,
now
well,
you
that's a
plan,
different one,
Well,
right.
no, it's not a different issue. You now plan to take on, and the gentleman said you're going to scatter the remnants of
That's false.
USAID throughout the State Department. Who is going to make sure appropriated funds are spent properly?
Well, they're not going to be scattered. They're actually going to be consolidated in a couple of funds that deliver, for example, International Humanitarian Assistance Fund. We'll also have an increase to the Emergency Refugee and Migration Assistance
You
Fund.
mentioned previous secretaries who have moved in this direction, and I just want to say to you that they decided not to do it because it was ill-advised. 15% of the planned cuts, there's 15% planned cuts of state staff. Now, who is going to make sure that appropriated funds are spent properly if you have fired all the staff with experience overseeing the process? Will you personally be approving every expenditure? I know you have a lot of jobs already.
No, we're not. First of all, we haven't fired any experienced staff other than the people that were riffed out of the 2 divisions in the department. But other than that, I said at the State Department, there's been only under 200 people have been removed. Some have retired and so forth, but that's normal in any cycle. We are also going to hire new people,
Let me
including,
just
as
say,
I've already...
you have, my time is short, Mr. Secretary.
so is mine, and that's why I want to tell you that
well,
we're
my
also
time
going
is
to bring in
short
people
here.
from USAID.
My time is short. I reclaim my time. You have terminated key monitoring and evaluation programs. Allow us to account for the use of this funding. How does allowing the money to flow out the door while hamstringing your own ability to track that money make our government more efficient and prevent waste, fraud, and abuse? It's clear that from the administration and Musk that the process is ignorant of the purpose of foreign aid, utterly unprepared to manage their own dictates, taking a chainsaw to foreign aid with no concern for human lives or the broader consequences for our security, no plan for the future.
This hearing escalated fast. Rosa DeLauro opened with a full assault on Marco Rubio and the administration's handling of foreign aid funding. She accused them of dismantling programs, firing staff, ignoring Congress, and causing damage to America's global standing. At one point, she claimed billions of dollars had effectively been taken away from programs Congress already approved. The tone was aggressive from the start. Everything sounded urgent: lives lost, laws broken, programs destroyed. And if you were only listening to the opening statements, you would think the entire State Department was collapsing in real time. But then Rubio started responding, and honestly, that's where the hearing began shifting. Rubio calmly pushed back on several of the numbers being thrown around. He argued that some of the claims were mixing current actions with future budget proposals. He denied that mass layoffs had happened at the scale being described, and he repeatedly explained that funding decisions were tied to the Office of Management and Budget process, not just his department alone. But every time he tried to explain, he got interrupted. "My time is short. I reclaim my time," over and over again, and people watching started noticing something important. If the goal is getting answers, why keep cutting the answers off? That's the moment this hearing started feeling less like oversight and more like political performance, because the strategy became obvious: hit hard, talk fast, keep the pressure high, never let the response fully land. But Rubio never lost control. He stayed calm the entire time, and that contrast changed how the hearing felt. The calmer he stayed, the more emotional the room around him became. And underneath all of this was the real fight: foreign aid. One side believes cutting and restructuring these programs weakens America, hurts humanitarian efforts, and damages U.S. influence around the world. The other side believes the system became bloated, overly bureaucratic, and impossible for taxpayers to fully track anymore. That is the real divide here: not whether America should help people, but who controls the money, where it goes, and whether anyone is truly accountable for it. And when Rubio started talking about consolidating programs and reducing layers of bureaucracy, it clearly hit a nerve. Because in Washington, bureaucracy often means power. The more complicated the system becomes, the harder it is for ordinary Americans to follow where billions are actually going. Now, to be fair, oversight absolutely matters. Congress has every right to demand answers about taxpayer money. But if you're going to accuse someone of destroying entire systems and causing human suffering, people expect the facts to be airtight. And once viewers started focusing on the interruptions, the shaky statistics, and the constant talking over Rubio, the hearing started backfiring online. Suddenly, the ambush did not feel as strong as it did in the opening minutes. And honestly, that is why so many congressional hearings fail now. Americans can tell when politicians are trying to create viral moments instead of serious debate. And in this case, Marco Rubio staying calm may have ended up helping him more than anything he actually said.